Welcome to the Toldinstone Podcast. I'm Garrett Ryan, and my guest today is Paco Alvarez. Paco, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Garrett. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here with you in Toldinstone, with all your friends, and with all the people from the Roman Empire around the world.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Thanks so much, Paco. So Paco's written a series of books exploring the Romans and their legacies, and he has a YouTube channel also called the Historia Confidencial.
Yeah.
Today we'll be focusing, though, on the history of Paco's native country, Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So to begin with, the beginning, how much do we know about the peoples of Spain before the Romans came, and how important was the influence of Carthage?
Oh, mm-hmm. Well, to begin with the last part of the question, I think that Carthage was not very influential in the history of pre-Romanic Spain at all. They will be seen as invaders. That's why the local, the native Spanish helped in the first place the Romans when they arrived during the Second Punic War. And about the other people that lived in Spain before them, Spain was a we had here a very old civilizations like Tartessos, which is even mentioned in the Bible as Tarsus in two books. I think it's in Jonah's book and in another one, and Cadiz, for instance, was a town that was founded 3,000 years ago. It's actually the oldest town or city in Occidental Europe, and it was founded by Phoenicians. Before Carthage. Also, the Iberians were a lot of times with a lot of contact with the Greeks. So they were a very, very advanced civilization. They had coinage, they had different writings. They had their own history, which mostly we don't know anymore. And also we had a lot of Celtic tribes, mostly in the north of Spain. And there's also these tribes that we call kind of Celtiberics, which it's a way of describing some fusion civilization that we know not that all about. No?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Then we call them in English like the Celtiberians, this kind of fusion of people from the north, and from the south. Mm-hmm. I visited once that wonderful museum in Madrid. I think it's the National Archaeological Museum. Yeah. And they had so much there from before the Romans. I was really taken aback by the amount they had from these, of silver work, really marvelous stuff.
Yeah. The Dama de Elche is one of I think the most important piece of art made by the Iberians or made by the Hispanic people before the Romans came in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So talking about the Romans, why did it take the Romans 200 years to conquer Spain?
Well, this is what Titus Livius said, but you have to have in mind that the Roman writers always pondered a lot of the people they were fighting with in order to make them look so important. If the guy I win he was very, very important and it took me that long, it makes myself greater even, no? Mm-hmm. So actually, the Romans came in the first place, and maybe they didn't want to conquer Spain. We don't know exactly about it. They wanted to end the Punic War, and that's why they came in the first place to Spain. Also, when the Second Punic War ended, that is in 206 before Christ. When Scipio planned the city of Italica, which, by the way, is the first city of Roman people outside Italy. The funny thing about it is that there wasn't, they took a lot of time afterwards before they made provinces of Spain. The Hispania Ulterior and Hispania Quiterior, which is the closest part and the more away part of Spain, wasn't founded up to 197 before Christ. That is 9 years afterwards. So one could think that in the beginning there was no planning or interest in conquering Spain. But later on, they found there was a lot of silver mines, mostly in Carthage and around, and that Spain was a very rich country in several ways, and they decided to stay. On the first place, they in the first 100 years, they didn't advance much more than on the first, let's say, 50 years, but instead, people for instance, people that live close to the Betis River, which is the Guadalquivir River, I mean, people near Cordoba and all that, they start Romanizing themselves, as Plinius says, even, I mean, without any need of war. I mean, they were people that thought that their civilization would be greater and they would be richer if they became Romans in a way. And then, I mean, the big wars that took place in Spain, that's the Celtiberian Wars and the wars against Viriato, the Lusitanian, which, by the way, we didn't discuss the Lusitanians before, but the Lusitanians were not sure even if they were Celtics or if they were Italics. But I mean, they have a lot of words that are similar to the Latin words and the Italic words, and maybe they were related with the Etruscans. We don't know. But okay, the Viriatus and held a war of 10 hard years against the Romans. Also, they call it in a romantic way that they made these all times. Along that, there was a treason, and the people from Lusitania were surrounded by the Romans in a truce, and then they killed them, and you know that. But Viriato survived, and then it's like Braveheart, you say. And in the northern half of Spain, there was the city of Numantia, which is the most famous resistant city against the conquering of Spain, but the Romans were around Numantia for 20 years, and the army that was surrounding Numantia, even though it was Roman, it was Hispanic Roman. I mean, most of the people were the same inside and outside the walls of Numantia. Later on, the historiographical tradition has made of Numantia a place that, well, you know, the resistance, Numantic resistance and all that. Also, Miguel de Cervantes, the author of the Quixote, made a theater work about that. But I really think that, well, it was a hard war, but the funny thing is the day after Numantia surrendered, then it all ended. I mean, you put down your shield and whatever, and okay, let's be Romans. And that happened up to, but the part of the most northern Spain was still Celtic, and nobody wanted to be there. First, because the Romans are not, I mean, they are actually Mediterraneans in the way that they don't usually live or care for places where the weather is not so good. And in the northern Spain is similar to the one at like Scotland. I mean, they built the Hadrian Wall for a reason, and that is one of maybe the reasons they didn't conquer the northern part of Spain in the first place. Later on, I think that August wanted to reach a defendable borders, and that's why they conquered the last parts of Spain, and that's why Titus Livius can say that it took 200 years, but it wasn't 200 years of war all the time and every day, you know.
Right. Well, that's a good way of putting it, that it was sort of just like stops and starts. You know, they would conquer the bit they wanted for a certain reason, and then they'd wait there. And I like to what you said about how they Romanized themselves, the people of Spain. They kind of made themselves Roman on their own terms. And that was true, of course, throughout the empires. It's not just conquest, the legions coming and, you know, killing everybody. It's, you know, people saying, hey, we want to join the winning team and becoming Roman, you know, on their own volition. So, talking about an interesting episode during this long era of conquest, the career of Sertorius, this Roman general who kind of goes native, becomes a Spanish guerrilla leader during the Roman civil wars.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, Sertorius is a very interesting case because, I mean, Sertorius was a nephew of Caius Marius, and of course he was against Sylla. And well, he was when he was younger, he was destined in Hispania in the wars, and he won here a Graminia crown, during the battle. So he was very, I mean, brave, and he knew brave. Spain and all that. Later on, he was named praetor by Cinna, but just in the end of the, let's say, popular ruling of Rome. And then when Sylla came, Sertorius escaped first to Africa and then to Spain. And first he made friendship and all that with the Lusitanians. I mean, with the people of Viriato. But this was 50 years after Viriato's ended. But yeah, it's very interesting that he made a kind of a Hispanic Rome without Rome. I mean, he made a Spanish Senate, and he made schools for teaching the people to be Roman, but without Rome. And Rome, in the first times, they didn't have the capability to reach an end with this rebel, which for the point of view of Sylla, he was a complete rebel. And then and then Sertorius had to fight against Quintus Cecilius Metellus first in the first place, and then also with Pompeius, who also came to Spain. And it is a funny thing that after what we said, after Numantia and all that, the first important war that takes place in Spain is not a conquering war; it's a civil war between Romans from one side and the other. And also Sertorius, he made Hispanic legions just like the Romans ones, with the same tactics and all that. And also he used the Hispanic tactics and Hispanic arms and weapons, which were very, very important for the Romans. Like, for instance, the gladius hispaniensis, the Roman the Roman sword. I'm sorry. It's a Spanish sword, and they call it that way. And it was the official weapon of the Roman legions during more than 300 years. They learned it here. And funny thing, after Sertorian War, the next war that also takes place in Spain between Romans and Spanish is also a civil war. So it's a very curious way that as a difference with other places or with other colonies or provinces of the imperial, or in this case the Republical Rome, people here were fighting as Romans in one side or in the other of the war.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's Sertorius, this rebel general. Yeah. We think of him as becoming Spanish, really just being Roman in Spain, and all of these, people in Spain who want to be Roman on their own terms are joining with him against a different Roman, Sulla back in Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, really, really fascinating stuff.
Yes,
this other war. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no, don't worry. It's very interesting, but also because Sertorius, as Viriato, had to be killed by attrition because generals couldn't end with him. The Roman generals of Sylla, as Pompeius. And Pompeius and Quintus Cecilius Metellus were about to die in two battles that took place near Valencia in Spain. And the whole history of the world would have changed. I mean, if Pompeius is killed in Spain, actually he was wounded by a stone thrown by a Honda. I mean, the complete history of Rome, we have to rewrite it again. So it's very, very curious what happened here.
Yeah, incredible that Sertorius almost won. He said twice and had to be betrayed before they could get rid of him.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before this other civil war that happened a generation later in Spain. And that, of course, involved our favorite guy, Julius Caesar, who fought his last battle in Spain. Can you tell us a bit about that epic confrontation?
Well, that's the Battle of Monda. It's very curious because the importance of Julius Caesar or Spain in the Julius Caesar career is not that well studied, but Julius Caesar was first named imperator in the wars he promoted in the 1661 before Christ, when he was propraetor in Spain. That's the first time he was named imperator by his troops. And the last time was a little bit, in this second civil war, sometime before the Battle of Munda, which is this epic battle, or they told us it's an epic battle, with the sons of Pompeius to end the last civil war. No? The last civil war up to his nephew, before his nephew and all the rest. Okay. The wars are always the last war. I don't know why.
True.
Yeah, but this battle it took place with the rest of the army that the Pompeius' sons could manage to make in Spain. And it happens also, like we said before in Titus Livius, I think this battle is oversupposed. We don't know for real where the battle took place, which it's a bit of a. We have to be sorry for that, but there's so many places where they fought, and with Roman rests of battles in the area between Cordoba and Seville, which is where it took place, that there are 2 or 3 different places that are supposed to have held this Battle of Munda. But also, if you read the fonts, the people that wrote about it, you think it's an epic battle. Caesar had to get their sword out and work with the soldiers in the first row. But if you see the list of people that died, actually, it's about 30 enemies of Julius Caesar for one of the legionaries. So it wouldn't have lasted more than 1 hour or 2 hours. It's not that important a battle, it seems. But of course, if you read about it, there was also even a palm growing in the middle of the battlefield that made him think about Octavius as his heir and all that. So.
Right. Yeah. So often that history makes these things into these, gigantic confrontations when in fact it might have been a little less impressive.
It's like Actium battle. The Battle of Actium, I don't think it was actually that big. There were a lot of people around, but the battle was between 4 or 7 ships, and then Marcus Antonius fled, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah. And so just left the propaganda to make it much more impressive later on. But they were good at that, I guess, Augustus.
Yes.
So once Spain finally becomes part of the Roman Empire, Spain is at peace. And even before so, there are very many famous Romans who come from Spain. You tell us about some of these famous Roman Spaniards and about how many emperors Spain produced.
Okay. We all agree that at least 3 of the Roman emperors were from Spain. Trajan, of course, that was the first one from Italica. The second one is his nephew Hadrian, and the third one it took a long time from there, which is Theodosius the Great, which is the last emperor of the whole empire, and it's also the person who made the Thessalonica Act that said that the Christianity would be the only religion of the empire. Constantinian the Great is very known, is very famous because of the Edict of Milan. But the Edict of Milan, it's only freedom of religion. But Theodosius is the one that says, no, the only religion we accept in the whole empire is Christianity. So it's very important in that way. Trajan, it's a very, very important. I mean, I think the Optimus Princeps, as they call them in life, because he expanded the empire more than ever before or afterwards. And Hadrian is kind of a philosophus himself, and well, he also it's not at all the time said, but he made a very important reformations of the army, the most important reformations of the Roman army after Caius Marius. So they are both, three of them are very, very important. After Trajan, whenever Caesar was named, people said this phrase, "No, may your reign be as happy as Augustus or that as Trajan." So, I mean, during years and years and all that, he was remembered to be one of the, let's say, two fundamentals part of the empire. But yes, Spain didn't not only made Roman emperors. A lot of people, very very important and very interesting, are Romans from Spain. The most famous is of course Seneca, the philosopher from Cordoba. Also, his father was very important, and his nephew, which is Lucan, who wrote the Pharsalia, is only one book, but it's very very important in the in history, because I think is, for the first part, is the first book that claims that you can win a war, but you don't have to be to have the reason to be. I mean, you don't have to be. You can win a war and not be the good one. Don't know if I'm explaining it, okay?
Yeah, it's very modern in some ways.
Yeah. You have to forgive me because it's been a lot since I don't speak in English, and usually when I speak in English about, when I speak about Rome, it's in Spanish, so I'm kind of translating everything.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it's much better than my Spanish, believe me. So go for it. No, it's great.
No, I try to improve for the next time, okay?
No, it's great.
But after, along with these people from Cordoba, we have a lot of people from for instance, Cadiz. One less known person is Lucius Cornelius Balbus, which was a very, very good friend of Julius Caesar, of Cicero, of Cicerone, Cicerone was his advocate in something they had in Rome, and also he was presented to Julius Caesar by Pompeius. So this Gaditanian was very important, but not only because of that. I mean, he was the first consul. He was named a consul by Augustus, by Augustus not being Augustus yet, maybe around 43 or 42 before Christ. He is the first consul not born in Rome. And his nephew, Lucius Cornelius Balbus the Younger, is the last person that was given a triumph in Rome. So, I mean, you can read it in the Fasti Capitolini. So it's those guys were very important. Pliny the Elder wrote that how come this guy from the ocean is named consul, and we cannot be because we are from the Latium, not from Rome itself. So, and also from Cadiz was also Columela, who wrote the Agricultura, a book very, very important still these days, concerning the how to the vineyards and all that are mostly made the way that he claimed them to be. And lots of people, Quintilian, and yes, and Valerio Martialis. Martialis, the guy who wrote the epigrams, with I really love. I think is the first humoristic writer of the empire. And well, Pomponius Melas, which was a great geographer, was also from a place near Cadiz. I mean, there are lots and lots and lots. A funny thing to say about the importance of Roman people, of Spanish people in Rome, is that if you go to the Colosseum, there's some places reserved for Gaditanorum. You see, in the stone, you can read Gaditanorum. These seats are only for Spanish people.
Right, it's there on the bench, right? Only if you're from Cadiz, I guess, right? Then you'd still sit there. And you're talking about Martial, the poet, the humorist, and he retired to Spain, didn't he? He went back to his farm in Spain. He was always talking about it in his poems, and finally went back to Spain in his old age. Yes. So many famous people. So thinking also about, Spain as a province, there is some provinces in the empire. Among many other products, it made quite a bit of the fish sauce that we call garum. So how and where was Spanish garum produced?
Well, Spanish garum was produced mostly in the Bética, mostly near Cadiz. Near Malacca, also. Malacca is a funny thing because Malacca was also a Phoenician foundation long time ago. So maybe garum was in the first place a sauce made by Phoenicians. We don't know. and then near Cartagena, near Carthage, the Spanish Carthage, there's a place called Escombrus, which Escombrus is the Latin name for the mackerel fish. So the place is in Spanish is called Escombrera, which doesn't have anything to do in Spanish with the name of the fish. But the funny thing is that still holds the name of the fish after all these years and in all these places. There are some people, for instance, in the University of Cadiz, working in the way of making real and actual garum again. But I'm not sure that we have the recipe.
I had a friend who I asked to try and make garum with me. It was going to be a YouTube project. And he lived in an apartment building in Chicago. So he was to go up on his roof and put these jars of fish and let them sit there for 3 months to kind of ferment to become the true garum. But it smelled so bad his wife wouldn't let him, and so he had to end the experiment. And that was the end of the garum. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's very, very curious. It's a funny thing. I mean, this guy is a doctor from the Cadiz University, specialized in ancient recipes and all that. And I actually tried the garum he made, and it's like, if you use it in a tiny spoon or whatever, it makes the flavor of anything bigger. You see, it's like
right.
And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, it's a flavor increasing thing, because maybe things like the same way they use pepper all the time in everything and a lot of salt. I think they use this garum in order to make things palatable.
Sure, right. Yeah, I guess the food might be a little bit rotten, maybe, and so the garum disguise, what it actually tastes like in a good way, probably sometimes. It's very, very interesting. Yes, I know that that there are places you can see the vats, right, where they fermented the garum. Certain sites, like Bailo Claudia, I think, they have some of the vats you can see. But anyway, so other things that Spain was famous for, above all in the north and center of the country, there were great gold and silver mines.
Yeah.
How much do we know about the Roman mining techniques?
Well, I think we know quite a lot, because in one way, the what they did in near Leon, in the Las Médulas, there's these mountains, which actually are a gold mine from the Roman times, and they use there the technique they call the Rubia Montis, or as Pliny the Elder said, Ruina Montium, or Arrugia, which the way it works is that they make lots of, let's say, worm holes in the mountain, and they afterwards they send around these holes lots and lots of water at very high pressure in order to actually turn the mount down. You can see still the countryside around there. It's a patrimony of the humanity by the UNESCO, the mines of Las Médulas, because I mean there are no mountains there anymore, and Pliny the Elder said that it's a kind of a monument to the way we have this gold fever, not in California, but this time.
Right, yeah. The first gold rush.
The first gold rush at all. Yeah, and also we have several mines in Spain, Roman mines that can be visited of different things. I mean, of course, of silver and of lapis specularis, which is a kind of semi-transparent stone that came in laminas, like the glass of the windows that were used before they could make glass for windows, because I mean it would have been very, 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 very expensive to do so. But they had these mines near, for instance, in Segovia, in Cuenca, quite in the center of Spain, and a lot of other places. And I mean, there was a lot of mining going down here, and mostly we have the remains of some of the mines and the description of the way they work. It was a very, very hard work. You mentioned before the National Archaeological Museum here in Madrid, and one of the of the stones is from a child that was a miner, and and died about, I think, the age of 6 or something like that. And the lapid that shows him with a hammer and the things they had to work, their work.
At 6 years old.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You're mentioning that this ruin Amantion that Pliny talks about. Even in California in the gold rush, they call it in English hydraulicking, where they just run water, huge amounts of water, over a hill and destroy it that way. Oh. So even in the 19th century, they were doing the same thing that the Romans were. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know about that. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So which of Spain's major cities were founded by the Romans?
Wow. we can end before if we say which ones were not founded by the Romans.
Right. It might be easier.
Might be easier, yes. All of them, I would say. I mean, but for instance, Alicante, which was also a Phoenician town before, Avila, Badajoz, the Balearic Islands, which, by the way, the name itself is a Roman name, because they're named by the slingers. Yeah,
yes.
Yes, the verb baleo in Latin, which means like ball or bullet, even a bullet. Balearic is the same. Is the islands of the slingers. Is the literal translation to Spanish or to English. And Barquino, Barcelona, Burgos, Cáceres, Cádiz, we said before. The people from Cádiz is very interesting because they helped Caesar in the Civil War, and they were named Civis Romani in 49 before Christ. I mean, people from Cádiz are Romans long before people from the north of Italy. It's a curious thing. Also, I mean, Castellón, Córdoba, of course. Córdoba was the capital of the Bética. Gerona, also in Catalonia, close to Barquino, to Barcelona. León in the north of Spain it was founded because in the beginning it was a castra of the legions, so first of the 6th legion and then on the 7th. Well, I mean, even the Spanish towns in Africa, Septem, Ceuta, and Melilla, Rusadir, were Roman cities before being anything else. In the museum at Melilla, which is one of the smallest towns of Spain, and it's actually in the north of Africa, in the museum you can find a how you say the way the kids drink the babies, the way. How do you say that in English?
Like a bottle, like a baby's
bottle.
Yeah, the bottle.
That baby's bottle. Romance, baby's bottle, making a way of a dolphin. It's a very, very special place.
Really?
Yeah. So,
like you said, so many.
Yeah.
Right. Just everywhere you go. It's incredible that they've remained, in many cases, viable cities for all those 2,000 years since then.
Mostly they are.
Right. So asking a big question, and kind of a hard one to answer in some ways, how similar in terms of culture were the Spanish provinces, the neighboring provinces of Gaul and Britain? How distinctive, I guess, is Spain and the Western Empire?
Wow, it's a very good question. I think that, we were all Romans, of course. We had the same language in order to understand each other, the same coinage, the same money. We could live wherever we wanted. It's like now in the European Union,
right?
In a way. But I think that we were more Mediterranean than the people from the north, so we could blend better in Rome, in everything about Rome. I mean, even though it was kind of a city that you didn't need to look Roman. I mean, you could be. I mean, we have spoken of emperors from Spain, but there are emperors from Syria, from Turkey, from Libya, from everywhere. I mean, racism is not something that the Romans understood at all, but and I think the people from Spain could better blend, or could be even taken as Italic people in other places, in Gaul and wherever. But I think that, there was a lot of mobility in the empire, and there was no big differences other than for instance, you cannot dress the same in southern Spain summer as in northern England.
Oh, right.
But as you know, in Eboracum in York, which is the northern city of the empire, they still held lion fights with gladiators. So so I don't think there's that difference, that much of a difference between the way they live. They have one rule of law and lots of religions everywhere, but mostly Celtic. But I think there were these little differences.
That's a good way of putting it, that there's, in terms of climate, it's very similar in south of Spain anyway. Obviously, that many Spaniards did become very prominent in Rome. They did integrate quite well into the upper classes, the Senate, some become emperors even. But otherwise, it was really just one big empire that had all of these uniform rules, ways of living and eating even, which is part of the magic of Rome. So I guess asking a similar question in some ways is, how Romanized was Spain by late antiquity? Were some parts more Roman than others in terms of culture?
Yes, of course. The places where the Romans stood more time. There's I think I have something noted here about a phrase of I think it's also from Pliny the Elder that says that yes. Let me find it.
Yeah, no worries.
I think I have it here. Yes, the guys. He says. I'm gonna translate. I have in Spanish. The Turetani that live in the near the Betis have adapted completely to the Roman way of life, and even have forgotten their own language. Most of them are Latins already and have received Roman colonies. So they are not very far away of being them all Romans. It's a funny thing to say all these years ago. And it is some scholars think that Julius Caesar gave he gave the citizenship, the Roman citizenship to the people from Garis, he established the Latin citizenship to the people of the Betica or the Ulterior province. That's not very clear. But we do know that Vespasian did so to all the Hispanic people. They made them all Latins from the citizens from the Latium, from the region that surrounds Rome. So it's a very, very curious and important honor. So a lot of scholars say that when in 212, when Caracalla made this, everybody is a citizen of Rome. Everybody in Spain were already citizens of Rome, because I mean they've been Romans for all that long ago, and there were many ways of becoming a Roman citizen. No, first enrolling in the army, or being elected the curio or whatever in your town. So we were very, very, very Romanized. I think that's one of the reasons that, for instance, when the Visigoths came, and they made the first laws about how to convive with the people actually living in Spain. Then, when they speak about the people living here, they call us Romans. I mean, they say it's always about how Goths and Romans can, make things work. And if they call Romans the people that were in Spain, instead of call them Spanish, I think it's a proof that we were quite Romanized.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That they're just default Romans to the Goths. And speaking of the Goths, of course. So when and how did Spain fall to the barbarians during the collapse of the Western Roman Empire?
This was a pity, isn't it?
Yeah. They had a good run.
Yeah, we were almost there. Well, I mean, they always say that in this other civil war, the last civil war, at the beginning of the 5th century, when there was this usurpator from Britannia that came to Gaul, and then when the barbarians crossed the Rhine. One of the guys told him, "Hey, why don't you go to Spain? It's back there and it's free." So,
right? Yeah.
There's nobody there. There's not a Roman soldier there. So they crossed. Traditionally, they say that it all began in 409, when the Vandals, the Alanos, and the Silingas and all that, they came to Spain, 3 or 4 different Germanic tribes, and established themselves in places where they have been in peace for so long time that you didn't have any soldiers at all, or even a way of resistance. I mean, there was no resistance. First of all, because the empire itself was going down. People have abandoned most of the cities and live in villas in the middle of the country, and also this way people didn't have to pay taxes, which were greater and greater all the time. And the poor people, the humiliores, also ran from the cities in order to escape the taxes. So maybe the first time when they saw another people coming to handle the government or whatever, they said, "Well, who cares? I mean, I don't mind this guy or the other."
Yeah, it can't be worse, right?
Yeah. So then, when finally the Goths were sent to Spain in order to move away the barbarics that came before. Well, it was a bit of a change. I mean, at least the Visigoths were Christians, Arian, but Christians, and also they wanted to be Romans. It was a hard way, but I mean, they had a long way in order to become Romans. But I mean, they thought of themselves as kind of Romans. So, well, I mean, it was if you listen to the historians of the time, Idasius or Nodacros and all that, it was terrible, the invasion of the barbarians. But I think it was not as terrible as, for instance, in Britannia. I mean, it was a change of times. I remember the letters from the people from Britannia saying that if we go this way, we have the swords of the barbarics, and the other way, we only have the sea. So this is the end of us. and actually the people from Britannia that came to La Bretagne in France and to there's a small place also close to Galicia in the north of Spain, which was an episcopate of people coming from Britannia,
really
rising from the. I will send you the data about it. It is quite funny. They lived there for centuries. And they were escaping from the barbarics in Britannia and became here. They came here with another barbarians, but for them it was quite of a better place to live. So also there's another thing that people shouldn't usually doesn't remember that part of Spain were recovered by the Oriental Roman Empire. Which was the Hispania province with capital in Carthage. They called it Carthago Spartaria at that time, and they control all the, would say most of Hispania Citeriores and the Balearic Islands and other parts of Betica, and they stayed there up to the year 635, I think. So, if we think that the Romans first came in the 3rd century before Christ and left in the 7th century after Christ, it's a lot of Romans around.
Yeah, that's a long Roman history, almost 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's true. We often forget that that part of, I guess, southeastern Spain becomes part of Justinian's empire.
It happens in Spain all the time. We don't study it in the. You have to discuss it with people, or please go to Wikipedia and check it out, because people, no, can be, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I had no idea that some Britons fled to northern Spain. I knew about Brittany in France, but that's fascinating.
Yeah. Very small one, but I will send you the data.
Please do. Yeah, thank you. So to turning into something, a matter of opinion, I guess. So what do you think are the most impressive Roman ruins in Spain?
Wow. Well, there are lots and lots of Spanish ruins in Spain. The place I like the most is Mérida, Mérida Augusta, which was one of the cities that were planned by Augustus. No, so it's a new town. It's not the usual place where you had this native city and changed into a Roman one. And there you can visit the amphitheater, which is amazing. The theater, which is the one of the best. It's really is the best in Occidental Europe, including Italy. And you have to go to Turkey to see something like that, or to Libya, but in Occidental Europe, nothing at all. It has a very nice Mitrium, temple of Mitra. Also, and lots of places. Mérida is amazing. But in Cordoba, which is a place mostly known because of its Arabic past, you can find lots of things there also about the Romans. Of course, Italica, it's very well preserved because it was kind of abandoned after the Roman rulage. So it also has an amphitheater and a theater and lots of very important villas. Maybe one of them was of the family of Hadrian, who knows, or Trajan. Well, I don't know. There are lots of places in Barquino, in Barcelona, for instance, which you wouldn't think at the first time that there are any Roman things there. You can actually walk in a Via Romana that came out of the city, and you walk between Roman tombstones. So it's very interesting, very impressive. And in Tarragona, in Tarraco was the most important city of this part of the empire, outside Rome, of course, outside Italy. In Tarraco, there are two forums, and one of the forums is that old as is the same where Julius Caesar stood, actually. So you can walk in the footsteps of Julius Caesar.
Wow.
And they have in Tarraco, they have this impressive amphitheater out of the sea. The views are amazing, and the museums in all these places are are very, very, very interesting, I think, for somebody who likes Rome as you do. And also in Segovia, for instance, you don't have that many Roman ruins, but the aqueduct is of course, the most impressive aqueduct the Romans made and still holds in place. And it was made in the time of Trajan, some time ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is so much. I remember going to Merida the first time. There's that very, very long bridge.
Yeah.
And I remember walking. It's like, oh wow, this is pretty much entirely Roman, and it just goes on for almost a kilometer, I think.
Yeah.
There is so much, and in fact, of course, you and I together will be seeing most of these places this spring, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm doing a tour in Roman Spain. So for anyone listening, look at the link in the description and see all these places for yourself with me and Paco. But anyway, well, thank you so much, Paco. This has been very informative, and I've learned a lot. Actually, I'm sure everyone listening has too. There is so much in Spain, an often overlooked part of the Roman world.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Garrett, and thank you, your people, because I really look forward to see you here in Spain and show you everything. You were talking about the bridge, and I was remembering the bridge at Cordoba, which you will also love.
Yeah.
There are so many places I want to show to your people. So I'm sure we're going to have fun, and we're going to end up learning a lot more about Rome and the Roman Spain also.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And again, for everyone listening, the link's in the description for our trip together in April of 2026. Yeah. But in the meantime, thanks again, Paco, and to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in.